Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Saga Scribe podcast. Today, I'd like to welcome J.P. Weaver, author of over 8 books, including Caravan of Blades, Gamer Manager, Sect Leader, owner of Riverfolk Books, Insider, and General Helpful Guy. J.P., how's it going?
I would disagree with that. Generally helpful, but yeah, it's going good.
What do you mean? You don't think you're generally helpful?
Oh well, I would say like I've helped like one guy get his series back on track, and that was great. But like we'll see if the rest of them kind of work out.
Yeah,
You
but
know who you are.
you're managing so many different stories, you're helping people, you're active in the discords, offering helpful advice. Why do you work so hard?
What this
What why
this
do you
honestly, I just got I feel like I got out of a bad relationship with my last position. Not like not like in publishing or writing, but like I had a very high demand, high stress job that I just left 5 months ago. To be clear, I'm in the same career field. I just went to a different place, and it's like all of a sudden, I'm not like trying to put out fires every day.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
good. I mean, she has more time to
yeah.
breathe as like an author and as a business owner, right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, okay, first and foremost, I just wanted to ask, tell me about your journey as an author. Like, how long you've been writing for? When did you get started? What were some of your early works like?
Oh man. So like, just like every writer probably has done, I did a nano like way back when, and it's it was unspeakable. I will never see the light of day. It was terrible. And then like so like I was in the military. I was deployed to Africa, and we were supposed to redeploy, come back to the States in March of 2020, and we all know what happened around then. So I got stuck. I got stuck in Djibouti, right? And then we had to do a mandatory quarantine for 20 days or for 14 days, right? And so like I'm bored. I'm a forever dungeon master, so I'm like I'll set up a D&D group, played every day, and so one of my players invited his girlfriend at the time, and like love this guy, grew up with him, but his girlfriend was a party girl who was locked in with him, and she just kind of torpedoed it. Like you know how like D&D is a collaborative game where you try to get people to play together and work with each other. And I'm like, okay, what do you want to do? And she's like, I just want to dance. And I'm just like, this is a this is kind of a murder mystery type vibe after you guys told me what you want to do. So I had all this creative energy, and I was stuck in lockdown. And like I also like my son was like 5 months old at the time, so like I can't see my son because I'm stuck in lockdown. I have nothing to do, and I have 2 weeks, so I just started writing, and then I just kept going, and that's kind of how I wrote the Badger Company, and you can kind of see some of the parallels with my experience being on a forward operating base, or like a like a base out in the middle of nowhere. With also like it's also there's a moon base, and there's a lot of parallels there
Mhm.
if you're paying attention.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
at
Okay, so
least
you started writing right. You started writing because of isolation, and obviously you're a lifetime dungeon master. I'm guessing you've played your
yeah.
entire life.
Yeah, and like, and the problem is like now that I have kids, like I can't schedule a game, right? Because like I'm at work, and like I'm literally calling you at my lunch break. I get off work, and then I'm in dad mode, right? So like unless someone wants to play with me at lunchtime, and like everyone has a job,
Yeah.
and then I can't really play a game. But I have all this creative energy, so I'm like I'll write on my break, I'll edit on my break, post on Royal Road, and see if people like it. Well, people are liking it. Kind of spirals out there.
Right on. Okay, so would you say that D&D is what influenced your writing the most, or like, what kind of books
Uh,
did you read growing up that influenced how what you like?
I mean, I read a lot. Like, I was the guy that got caught with the Star Wars books in middle school, back when they were doing the Rogue Leader paperbacks. But like, it was really like that. The Badger Company was inspired by me listening to the Bobaverse series over and over again. And if you haven't heard it, it's a sci-fi series. It's not military sci-fi because the author is like he's like Star Trek fan, and he's like against like conflict in general, even though they kind of ended. Spoiler: the the third series ends with a bunch of nukes destroying an alien race. But like, I'm like, okay, so he doesn't want to do military sci-fi. So like, I have military experience. Let me write what this would be like if it was a military unit doing stuff. And like, it's not just like, I think the problem is like everyone thinks military sci-fi, they expect like infantry, and I'm just like, all right, I'm thinking about intelligence and all the other things that are enabling that like thing.
Right on. Okay, so you'd say Bobaverse and Star Wars is what inspired you the most as a kid, or like growing up and starting your writing journey, eh?
Yeah, and then this most recent, like I'm not gonna lie to you. If you've read The Power Broker, which is a story about Robert Moses, that is the thing that inspired my current thing I'm working on, Bodega Cat. But like I was a prolific reader. Like I'm always listening to audiobooks. I read 94 books last year. 80 something of them are audiobooks.
Oh my goodness, how do you have the time for that? You just put them on in the background while working?
Yeah, I put them on. Like you do it at your commute, do it at the gym. And then like I listen at 1.5 speed at sometimes, and my wife's like, "What are you listening to?" I'm just like, "It's just faster." My brain's like, can't stand the slow pace of this audiobook that's narrated at 1 time speed.
Yeah, you need to get it out.
Yeah,
that's what I noticed with your writing. Like you manage so many different stories. I did wanted to ask, like, how do you manage all these different series that you're writing at the same time?
Okay, so I don't know why I did this because I keep learning this lesson over. If you have nothing else from listening to me speak, take this lesson to me. Write one book at a time, right? So they are releasing at the same. I'm releasing 3 series at the same time. I'm releasing this is almost done. Caravan of Blades, which is on its 4th book, and it'll be done in February. I wrote that starting in April. Before that, I wrote Nascent Soul Child, which I posted afterwards, and it's still in the book 2. It's going to be 3 books. And Gamer Manager is the one that started in November. So like I had written all of Caravan of Blades before I posted it, right? Oh no, sorry. I wrote in all of Nascent Soul Child before I posted it, and then I started writing Caravan of Blades, and I just instead of writing and posting every single chapter, I wrote 7 chapters a week and I posted 3.
Okay.
Right, and then I didn't start posting Nascent Soul Child until I'm like, okay, I have enough of a backlog of Caravan of Blades to post it. So it's even though like you're seeing all 3 at the same time, like I wrote them at different times, and like I'm editing them at different times. Like I'm finishing the last book of Nascent Soul Child with like this huge battle scene, and it's and I'm writing the next series just a little bit. But I'm really just trying to finish this arc on Gamer Manager.
Yeah, so you'd probably recommend to people like don't even bother starting 3 series at once. Just get 100,000 words down. Like what's kind of your advice on that for people starting on Road?
My advice is finish a whole book and then start posting, or like a book and a half. Right, because at that time you're like, like a book and a half, because you kind of like have to foreshadow stuff from the 2nd or 3rd book in the beginning. And if you finish the 1st book, like first of all, you finish something amazing. Like most people will never finish a book, but then like you post it, and then like you're letting people read it, and then you get that feedback, and you're already in like a book and a half in. You're writing like chapter 50 of like 200 chapters in this book, and you're like, okay, people are telling me, giving this feedback in the beginning, and I can kind of like put in foreshadowing in later chapters for what I want to do later, now that I know where it's going to go.
Yeah, it's actually my favorite thing when people like suggest skills or like how skills could work, and then you get to just take it from a commenter and just put it in your story. I love when I one of my favorite authors, I think, took one of my comments and put it inside of the story, but we'll see. But okay, so you're writing like 8 different stories. What kind of things do you like to focus on in your stories? Do you like to just experiment? Because I know you were saying you wrote a military sci-fi, military style Bobaverse. You're writing Bodega Cat, which sounds awesome, by the way. Like, what kind of stories do you like to write or you want to explore?
So, like, this year, like, I changed up. So I went from being a big-time plotter to, like, I just need to get words out. So I went to a pantser. I read Writing into the Dark, which I recommended when we were Writing in the Dark by Dean Wesley Smith. So like I start off the series, I know, so like when I started writing Caravan, I'm like, okay, book 1, I want them to end where they are ready to get into an airship and then fly to the other continent. Okay. So it didn't get there at the end of the book 1. In fact, it didn't actually lift off until the middle of book 2, right? So like I'm building up. It's a small ragtime bag of band of heroes. There's way too many heroes, of course, because that's like the tagline. And one guy from the original world, and like 16 heroes that got isekai to save the last. Yeah. So like, and like, okay, so the goal is they're gonna get to the airship, and then they're gonna fix up the airship. They didn't get to the airship and fix up the airship until the middle of book 2, right? But like, I knew what my goal was, and I'm like, okay, well, I could have a satisfying arc in book 1, right? Like I plot each book as like there's like 3 heists or 3 like mini arcs where they have some downtime. They're like, what's our next mission? They do the mission, then they have these like effects due to the mission. So like, oh, we went on this mission to the Dwarven Academy, but now we have all these things, this loot that we have to put out, and then we do some character development, and then they're like, okay, what's our next big mission? Because they have to keep moving, right? They have to get out of the zombie infested lands, and they're like, okay, let's make an airship. And the one guy, Finley, the one guy from the world, is like, what the fuck is an airship? What are you humans on about?
So what the heck? Well, yeah, that's hilarious. Okay, so why did you mentioned, you said something interesting. You used to plan out all of your different stuff. I'm assuming you did the whole Brandon Sanderson style, like, let me plan out all my characters, my plots, everything, magic system. Yeah. What about why did you switch to pantsing? You said you read Writing into the Dark. Like I've heard of this book like 50 times, never read it. I don't read craft books. I'm just constantly reading like paperbacks and Pulp Fiction and Royal Road. So can you tell me a bit about Writing into the Dark? Sorry about that, folks. We just had some technical difficulties, but Weaver, I think I was asking you about Writing into the Dark. You said you used to plot a lot, but now you're a pantser. I have no idea what that book is about.
So it's basically like you. So how many books have you read? Like you've read like dozens of books, right? You've watched probably hundreds of movies.
Probably more than I could count. Yeah, probably. I think last year I was like 140 books or something like that.
So you kind of like if you saw like the first so have you ever seen Red State?
No.
By Kevin Smith.
No.
Okay, so if you haven't seen Red State is the perfect example of what I think this kind of encapsulates. So if you watch the first quarter of the movie, you're going to think that you know exactly how the movie's going to go, right? And then it takes a twist at the first quarter. All right, so you watch the second quarter of the movie, you think you know where the movie's going to go, right? So, and you once again, like, things change, and all of a sudden you're like, wait a second, what? And that happens again after the third quarter. So, like, 4 times you're like, I thought I know where this is going. So, like, your brain has seen all these movies, has seen all these series. Your brain has listened to these audiobooks, has read these books. So you kind of have an idea of how a story should go, right? That's your unconscious brain, like, understands how a story should go already. So it's the critical brain, like the active, like the conscious brain that's like stopping you and saying, it shouldn't go like this. You need to have a structure. It has to do this. And I'm like, bro, I can tell you, I've never met a bodega cat, but I can tell you for damn sure that the guy would pretend to be the manager if he was intelligent, and then he would fucking order people around like they were his mounts.
Yeah.
So I've got, and then he gets an AI assistant named Janet, who, like, spoiler, she has a laser thing, and all of a sudden he's like, I need you to shoot those lasers so I can fucking chase them. Like, this is what the character wants to do. He wants to do these things. So, like, okay, let's follow the characters and see what they're doing. And that's kind of how one of my characters, I found out in book 3 that she used to run a front for the mob because of how sneaky and shady she was, and how she was in her mid-20s and had never actually had a real job. And everyone's like, so what's up with that? And she was like, so my family used to run this thing, and I'm just like, this makes perfect sense for this character, the way that I've written her, because she chose a rogue, she wanted to be a trickster. And I had this experience where I tried to play a D&D game, and I had 2 ladies playing with me, and they both wanted to be rogue tricksters independently. So I'm like, I'm gonna put that in the game. I'm gonna put that in Caravan of Blades. So, like, when the characters get summoned to the new world, they get to choose a class card. They both chose rogue, and they became besties.
Okay.
And I'm like, you gonna trick the zombies? Like, what are you gonna do?
So okay, yeah. So Writing into the Dark is more about, like, just letting the story flow out of you, not necessarily, like, just having fun with writing. It sounds like not sticking to a rough or a really strict plot outline.
Like, you know what your characters want to do. All right, so what do they need to do to get to the next thing? Like, my characters, they want to get off of Novaria, the continent they're on, where everyone is a zombie. They want to get to Sunderland. They want to get to another continent that's not infected. So like everything they do has to go towards that goal, except for like one girl who's trying to get drunk, or trying to get with the other guys. Like they have motivations, but like they all have to go towards the goal. And if you're not kind of advancing the plot or advancing the character plot, like, oh, she found this dwarven, what would you call it? Like a cellar full of beer, and she drunk herself to a stupor. Like that's her character arc. She wants to find all the beer, and then like if it's not moving towards that plot, like why? Like think what the characters actually would do.
Yeah, I feel like some people I feel like a lot of people would agree with you, but I feel like a lot of people like to plan out literally everything inside of their stories.
Oh yeah.
Okay, that's really interesting. So okay, I do want to ask you about like how you started Riverfolk, because you are one of the indie publishers in this scene. So first and foremost, why? Because it seems like so much work. What do you look for, and can you just tell me a little bit about like what it's like to be a publisher?
Sure. So funnily enough, I had a conversation with one. So I have 3 creative directors right now. So Alexa, Freya, and Zach. So Zach just does our horror stuff. He used to do everything, but he's now managing the horror imprint, which is a new thing. So I started this because I was kind of like, hey, you should publish your stuff. And like, I self-pubbed my book. All right. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, you should self-pub. And they're like, that sounds like too much work. I'm like, but it's really not that much work. And they're like, I'll do it if you make a publisher. And like, I had enough people like saying that, like Abatu, rest his soul. He's like, I will do this, but like, I want you to publish me. And I'm just like, okay. So I want, like, I'm like talking to Alexa. I'm like, Alexa, your writing's great. I want to see Inescapable Escapism, your book, on Kindle. And she's like, make me. And I'm just like, I'm going to create a publishing house out of spite to publish works that deserve to be published.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm like, I did not come from a writing background. My background is in the military, and I basically had like every job under the sun before I joined. And I joined as a reservist, and then I came on full time. And I'm just like, okay, I'm just going to do this the way that I would do it. And then like, oh, this is the kind of stuff I want to read. That's why I have The Last Ray of Hope. I'm like, this is the kind of book I want to see in circulation. I want to make this put this out. But like, I wouldn't write that. But now that I see her write that, I'm just like, oh yeah, more of that.
Yeah. Last Ray of Hope is fantastic. Okay, so you wanted to become a publisher. You wanted to start it because you wanted to push stories that you like and thought deserved a push on Amazon and an opportunity for authors to like make this a career.
Yeah. It's like I've read enough books. I'm like, you're my friend. I want to publish you. And hey, how would you like to help me publish others' works, especially in this space? Because I'm just going to self-publish my own works, but and then I might as well like have a staff. Like I have a staff of 7 now. We're all part-time, so I have a staff of 7 now, and I'm just like, all right, guys, you're gonna help me make my stuff, but also like since I've assembled you, let's also do all the other authors' stuff as well.
Yeah, so kind of just snowballed then.
Yeah, I can try to snowball. I'm like, it's just gonna be me and Abatu, and then maybe Alexa, and then like more people ask, and I'm like, okay, well, let's review your stuff, and then yeah.
Well, how does it work? Like, is it? I know you're American, but is it just like opening up a standard corporation and just a publishing? You just do the publishing business? Is there qualifications that you need? Or is anything like that? Because I know a couple people are interested in starting small indie houses. So
I have no qualifications, no certifications. I just opened a business, and basically, so you just need someone to be the rights holder and someone to write the contracts to start. So like, what did I do? So I registered as a DBA, and I think I'm gonna my refile as an LLC. But like, you have to look at like your own. I can't give you tax advice. I can't give you like structure advice. But like, I have an EIN. So like, I have one employee. So they get paid through that. But like, besides that, it's just like you find the corporate structure that can work for you and where you are, depending on if you want to hire somebody or not. If you want to contract out. So like, most of my workers are contractors. They get they have to take their own taxes out until like we get big enough where it's like, okay, I can pay for for a tax specific thing in every state that people live in. Because
What do you mean? You don't have the funds to support 40 people on a payroll? Like, what do you mean? Like, that's like
I mean, no,
crazy.
it's more like for every state that someone lives in, I have to abide by their rules and laws. So like I used to live in New Jersey, so the business is incorporated in New Jersey, but now I live in North Carolina, and my employees are in like 5 different states and also like 3 or 4 countries. So it's like I'm going to do what I need to do for me,
Yeah.
but you're a contractor, and I'm just going to pay you the thing, and I know what the contract is. Like I give you a thing of work, but I'm not going to tell you exactly how to do when to do it. Like everything is flex time in Riverfolk.
I know that there's companies that are trying to figure that out for like international style businesses or at least international small style businesses. I'm curious to look into like Lemon Squeezy because I know they just basically have a bunch of accounting lawyers in every single country. And that's what they do. And for billing and things like
I
that.
so it's like you could treat someone as an employee, right? So like they work for the company, and I direct their activity, and I tell them, hey, I need you to work this many hours a week on this project. Or I could say they're a contractor, and I say, here's a project I want you to accomplish. Like you're a contractor for me. Like you're a business selling these services, and I'm a business,
Hmm.
right? So like Alexa is a contractor for me because I am not going to go through the legal rigmarole to figure out how the hell to pay someone who lives in the UK correctly. So like I just pay like Alexa Inc. Right?
Yeah, yeah. No, I got you.
Or
I understand. Um,
that's
here's
that's a
a
whole.
question.
Bleh.
Here's a question that I get all the time from writers. Is that so? Let's say somebody has, let's say, 1,000 followers on Railroad. Some of
Okay,
these people,
this question.
realistically,
Yep.
they probably could approach publishers. Should people like at what point does somebody approach publishers? How does that look like? What does that look like? And do you
Uh,
think some people should just open up their own LLC and then just publish direct on themselves via self-published?
I don't. So like for what Phoebe did is he did like I think he has a partner. Right? I don't have a partner. I have people that work for me. Um, Not that I'm independently wealthy, but like I understand. I know I'm keeping it. I'm keeping the expenses like so that we're not going to drive us into the ground.
Hmm.
Um, I don't know if I should recommend it or not. It's like a very like win more thing. So let me give you an example of Selkie. Selkie is selling a lot of books personally. Selkie really understands the business. He's on book like 13 or 14 Beneath the Dragon Eye Moons. He knows what he's selling. He knows the industry. So he obviously opens a publishing house. Like I spent all this time learning marketing. He spent all his time learning marketing. So he's like, okay, I'm going to open Mango Media. Like if you that's the thing. Like if your Patreon is doing really really great, and you're like, I want a headache. Then I would say,
I want to
like
headache.
seriously, like I want a headache. Like I want to pay someone to do things. Like okay, all right, granted. Um, I don't know that I would. You have to be a certain kind of person to say like I want to deal. So it's a lot of dealing with personalities where it's like okay, I need to deal with this person to get their work out, and then I also have to promote this person. Um, and I'm already dealing with people who are like reluctant to like post their link in their Discord profile. Which pro tip if you're on our Discord, or if you're on the Immersive Ink Discord, you don't have a link to your profile to your work. I'm going to ask you to put it there
Every single time.
so I can read it
Every
every
single
single
time.
time.
Do you read everybody's
It's a
stuff?
meme now. I try if I have time, I'll read a few chapters. But like unless I'm like again dad mode, I'm like okay, the kids are asleep. Let me read a few chapters of this. Um,
Yeah, read a
yeah.
couple chapters before sleep. So okay, I think what I would love for you to maybe provide some insight on is: do you think more people should be approaching publishers? Let's say they're around the 750 to 2,000 follower mark. Do you think they should just go reach
Mhm.
out? Do you think they should just try the self-publish route? If let's say they had make $200 a month on Patreon, what?
Ooh.
Yeah, like at what point do you say, okay, maybe I should take a crack at self-publishing on Amazon? At what point do you say,
Okay.
yeah, maybe I should take a crack at approaching publishers?
Yeah. So I wrote a little guide on Immersive Inc. about profit and loss and audiobooks and when you should consider like self-publishing and like the costs associated with that. So like if you have a fiction that's over 1,000 followers, like, and it's doing pretty well, and you want to keep going, and you're like vibing with it, yeah, you could send it to a publisher. Like, send the first 50 pages, or like look at what the requirements are to send to them. Um, I I don't know what other publishers are going to say. I know like we'll take a look. We'll always give everyone a chance. But it's like followers are great, right? So followers mean that more people are looking at your stuff, and like it's social proof that it's good, right? So like imagine like if you didn't have that social proof and you're just sending me something, and I have to go just off of
Vibes.
looking at your work. Like it's just off of vibes. Like we got Malvinia off of vibes, and when they released their like novel about witches and the Ukrainian war against Russia, like I'm going to be so super psyched to promote that, but that's not going to go on Royal Road, I don't think. Even though the freaking concept art's amazing,
Okay.
just off of vibes, and like literally my creative directors are like vibrating, telling me about it. But to circle back to the question, so like should you submit to a publisher? You can. There are publishers like mine that will take a work. We like I'm not going to say it's a strong and fast rule. Like the kids, you're an author. If you want to make this a long term thing, like you're going to have to write a bunch of series, right? If you're just writing one single standalone novel, like that's very unlikely to be a hit.
Mm-hmm.
But like if you have 1,000 followers, you have social proof that like people like your stuff, you're getting some good reviews. Like why not ask?
Yeah.
I want to err on the side like you should ask anyway. Like again, Freya, my creative director, is submitting one of her works to a agent recently, and she says like the agent gets 300 emails a day of people looking to review words, and I'm just like, what?
300 emails a day?
It's
Oh
like 300
my
emails a day,
goodness.
and I'm just like, what? I think we've seen like 100 submissions so far, but like
So how many submissions do you think you get a month?
a month, probably about between 10 and 30.
Okay.
So like the team, so like I'll take a look at it. I'll give it a thumbs up. So if two of me and one of the creative directors give it a thumbs up, then we keep giving a thumbs up. And like if it looks great, then we'll just be like, hey, how would you like to join the Otter Hive Mind?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's very like, I don't know what you're gonna send me. I don't know who's gonna walk through my door, but I'll give everyone a shot.
One thing I actually really appreciate about the way you approach stuff, at least on Royal Road, and at least with Riverfolk and your newsletter and all the different stuff you do, is that you are so willing to just like put yourself out there. You're so willing to say like, hey, come look at my stuff, read this, read that. Do you think that just comes from experience, or is that just how you are? Like, I think a lot of people, at least when I'm reading the chats and everything, a lot of people are just like afraid to put themselves out there.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
it's they're afraid of rejection. I'm just like I've been rejected so many times. Like I don't care. I'm beyond it. Like I had this experience. Like I went to a big training event. I'm the company commander of 66 people, and I'm like arguing with this guy. I'm like, I need this stuff for the mission, and it's stuff that we should have gotten months ago, but my command failed me. So I'm like, okay, you're my leader. You need to get me this stuff. You need to get there's like helmets and body armor, and I'm like, I've been asking for this stuff for 3 months. My leaders have failed me back at home. Can you get this? And he's like, I don't believe you. Go stand in the corner. And I'm just like, are you freaking kidding me? Like,
Yeah.
you're supposed like and I'm just like I don't care if you don't like my stuff, but I'm I what is it? I'm just over being rejected. I don't care anymore. Like you don't like it, don't read it. That's fine. I've written a bunch of things to like try to do stuff, and like last night Zach has challenged me to write 5 novellas in 5 different styles that I don't normally write in. I'm just like, might as well.
5 different novellas?
Yeah, it's like 10,000 words each. I'm just like, no, all right, might as well.
Okay, that's not so bad. 50,000 words? That's not typical. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
not like he wants it tomorrow, but like,
that's not so bad.
yes, yeah, you'll see those dropping soon when I figure out what the heck I want to do with them.
Another thing I wanted to ask you about is what do you want to see more of in the genre? Like, what do you want to see more from Royal Road or authors? Like, What do you personally like to?
Me?
Yeah, what do you like to read now when you're not doing
Oh
things
man.
like work? And what do you want to see
Uh,
more from like Royal Road or writers in general? Like, where do you think things are going? Because I know you're always like peeking at Amazon. I
oh
know you're
yeah.
always like keeping track of the markets.
All right. So the way I think things are going right now is it's going to be more regressor stories. So a regressor story is when someone who goes back in time and they try to redo the things, and then like they go through a time loop. Like Charles Sue Saves the World, which is a story about a guy going back in time to try to save the world from a an asteroid attack, and every time he goes back in time, things get a little more complicated. Um, or Re Monarch, which is like a regressor story where he goes back multiple times, but like the loops are a little shorter. Like each time that Cholsu saves the world, each time Cholsu goes through, he has a different, he tries a different thing. Like first he tries to be the head of the space agency, then he's like, okay, I can't do that. That they don't listen to me then. Then he tries to be the engines guy, and then he's like, all right, space agency can't do it, so I need to come back and I need to start a private industry. How do I make money to make spacecrafts? And that's where I kind of think things are going right now. Instead
Mm-hmm.
of isekai, it's like regressing back to fix something that you know is coming. Like so, like system architect is kind of that right now for me. Shout out to Ravenites.
Raven, there you go. There you go. I
Yeah,
was giving you a second there. Okay.
yeah, because like, like my only problem with Ravenites is like I want him to come back. I want the guy to come back and have like a crew. He doesn't want that because he wants the hero to have like a mental breakdown, because no one's like backing it. I'm just like, okay, all right, I get where you're going from with this.
So you think it's going more in like the regressor style? Do
Yeah,
you think that Railroad and like the lit RPG game lit stuff? You think it's gonna keep growing at the rate it has been over the next couple of years?
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of untapped potential. Like we have not reached market saturation, even if Zach thinks we have. And I also think like something more like Freerin or Station 11 is going to be happening. Where like it's a slow story. It's like a more sedate pace, and things are going on in the background, but like you're kind of like staying there with the characters. Like Station 11, where it's like, okay, it's the apocalypse, all this stuff has happened, but now what? We're going to rebuild, right? And like, let me also say, like, if I would love as a reader to read something more in the style of apocalypse parenting, where it's like parents dealing with the apocalypse, or like the actual like nitty gritty of a apocalypse
Mm-hmm.
and like rebuilding. Like that's kind of why I'm like, okay, the rules of Bodega Cat are anyone can have a deck, including animals, which is why the Peregrine Falcon is in the top of the leaderboard, and also like no electronics are destroyed because the people that inflated the Smith system want people to be afraid and like pass around their fear. So like it's like, why would we disable electronics? You can have electronics.
Yeah. Yeah. Very rarely have I read like a story where nukes still work and cell phones still
Oh
work.
man. Oh man.
Just because I don't even know how you would approach that. I don't even know what you would do.
Well, that's what
Yeah.
I'm like. It's so like if you read like Soul Leveling, it's like everything is normal, but they also have hunters and they're going through these instance dungeons. So like, okay, it's normal, except the hunters are keeping these monsters out from society, and it's like, are you gonna go to? Are you still gonna go to work in a system apocalypse? I don't know.
Definitely not. Definitely not. I feel like everyone is
Yeah,
just secretly hoping for the apocalypse, you know?
yeah, and
They're
it's like,
hoping.
oh, my boss made me work. It's the apocalypse.
Yeah. The more, because I mean, lit RPG and all these system apocalypses are a response to something. They're all apocalypse novels, and people are saving the world or just trying to like get by. So, there's a reason why the world like it's growing 30% year over year. Um,
Oh yeah.
yeah. For another thing I wanted to talk about is how you approach characters. Because one thing I actually really appreciate about Caravan of Blades, which I think like 700 pages through. I read as much as possible, but it's hard for me because I'm just trying to read so much stuff.
Oh yeah.
How do you work through your characters? Are you just pulling them out of your head? Are you basing them on real people? Like, do you have any advice for just people and characters?
Okay, so my first thing is resist the urge to explain. Right, explain absolutely nothing. Right, which is how I found out that Stella was a mob enforcer, restaurant owner, whatever. So like, the less I can explain about the character, the better. Right. and I want their stuff to reflect in like what they're actually doing. So like I always say, like what you should do is write a rant in the voice of your character for something that only they care about, right? So I have a rant in Badger Company where the main character is like, he's sitting in this conference room on the moon, and he's like, what fucking white man decided to bring a mahogany table out to the fucking moon base alpha at what fucking expense? Because that's the thing. He's like, fucking white people doing this bullshit. And what else? So like in my mind, I'm like, okay, so Bob would rage about Hoboken versus Jersey City traffic, and like fucking he has a thing about like so one of my characters, Bob, he was a reality TV star, like a D-list reality TV star, and so he hates critics.
Okay.
So like if you ask him about critics, he would just like fucking go off, right?
Okay.
And it's
So you think having people write like a rant in the style of their character helps them, and then
right,
and then
but
developing the character that way.
Like the key here is you have to think about the thing that the character cares about, that just that character has an opinion on. Like every other character would have a different opinion on this, but this one character has this one thing about this rant that they're just like they cannot help but not mention, right? Like they care about this one thing so much, right? Like if so like Anthony is a midwife, so he's going to care about like proper medical care, and he's going to be like, wash your fucking hands, and or like Finley is like, all he cares about is making money, right? He just wants to he wants to get better. He went to like the Zen retreat to get better, and then all of a sudden there's no fucking way to make money, so he's going to grumble about that, right? Like, so what is the thing that your character really cares about that is different than every other character, and how does that make them distinct?
Understood. What about you? What's your rant? What do you care about that nobody else does? What's
there's this retirement system. There's this retirement system for so I'm in the Army Reserve. So like there's this retention system that basically, if we made it so you could retire earlier rather than retire like at 60, because of the way the retirement system works, it would solve so many retention problems. And there was a RAND study in 2016 that like posits this, and it's been 8 years, and like this is such a no-brainer that like I'm so mad that senior leadership doesn't take over. But like, yeah, that's my rant.
That's your rant, is to be able to retire earlier.
No, it's like you do your 20 years in the reserves, and then like they don't start paying you retirement pay until you're 57. So like rather than that, like just make it immediate. Just make it so like active duty, your pay is immediate. You do 20 years in active service in the military, you get paid immediately. You do 20 years in the reserves, you get paid like when you're 57. Why? Like the pay is going to be less because you did less time. Like you did less days, but like
that's the Weaver rant, eh?
That's the Weaver rant. Like if I was a 3-star general for a day, I'd just be like, we're changing this right now. Bam, retention would go up.
Does it? Yeah. It's so funny you were talking about the you clearly like military style novels. There was like a, oh my goodness, I found a story that basically it's America gets isekai'd, not nobody else. Like nobody else, just America gets isekai'd.
Just America.
Just all of America. And in the guy who was writing it had something like 2,000 followers and was making like 10 grand a month on Patreon. I was like, this is perfect. This is like so classic.
What?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. Just like the highest conversion rate I've ever seen in my whole life.
This is where you can self-publish and then make your own publishing house. Like, okay, all right, you made it. Okay.
Yeah.
Damn.
Just to go back to the publishing stuff. When someone's trying to go to like a publisher or anything, should they just open up an LLC? I mean, I know you don't want to give tax advice or anything, but I guess it all depends on the location, right?
So like if there's like 7 different types of governance bodies for corporations, at least in America. So like
there's 7 in America?
Yeah. Last time I checked.
Oh, good.
I literally have to schedule a meeting with a CPA this year because my taxes are getting so complicated. I'm just like, hey, can you help me with this?
Yeah.
But like it's like it really depends on if you're going to be doing it alone or if you're going to be doing it if you intend to be a partnership, right? because, oh man, I could probably write an article about this, but that means I would have to understand it.
Yeah, maybe don't write it if you don't understand it, or write it to understand it. What all the bloggers do, right?
Yeah, I'll probably do that. So let's look over that in 2025.
Yeah. So okay. So tell us about what you're working on for the next year. So what are your plans for 2025?
I'm doing Kickstarter for Caravan of Blades, for foil covers, potentially card art, and if we do well enough, a audiobook, probably by Zach Zaba and Tiffany Suzuki. I've already asked them, but I don't know that it may not fund that much. And then, so I've got 3 novels going about Nascent Soul Child, which is going to start getting pretty hot soon. It's halfway through its run. And then Gamer Manager is probably going to be 1 book for now, and then I'm going to market complete it and then come back to it later. I'm getting a lot of good feedback on it. It's got a very strong voice, and I like the premise, but like, I need to clean it up. I'm writing 8,000 words a week on it, and I'm just like, all right, I kind of need to take a step back and come back on this one. And then I'm writing Bodega Cat, which I want to launch in June, July, but I want to have 150K words in it, probably like at least 50 chapters.
That's a lot of writing. So okay, so you're doing a Kickstarter for foils.
Yeah.
For foil. When is that coming out?
So it's in pre-launch now. So the way Kickstarter works is you have to hit the big green button to launch it, right? And it doesn't preload. Like, so probably on February 1st or 2nd, I'm going to do like a fireside chat on Immersive Ink, and I'm going to just click the button, and I'm going to hopefully will fund very shortly thereafter, and I'll just be like, oh, this is really not frustrating at all, or I'll just be like, oh goddamn, you guys are gonna make me work, because every back, so like everyone except for the digital ones are gonna have to mail something out, right?
Yeah.
And
what are you looking to raise, if you don't mind me asking? Or we can always wait till
to
release it.
I don't know if it's gonna have funds, but I set it really low, like $500 is what I'm looking to raise, and that's just gonna cover the cost of shipping the books and making sure that they're fixed up to be that. Now, if it goes over that would be great. My friend just had her book come out. It's called Supplicant, the 2nd edition of her Crystal Saga. I need to get that better. So her first book came out a year or 2 ago, Petitioner, and now this one is called, and it's scheduled another time. Dang.
What?
So Petitioner just came out and had funded to 13,000 Australian dollars, and I'm just like, that would be a great goal, but I understand that it's my first time joining a Kickstarter project, so I'm going to say if we raise $500, that will cover the costs to ship it out, and it'll be a one-time thing. And if it doesn't do great, it doesn't do great, and that's fine.
I'd recommend reaching out to NT Laser about that. NT Laser has run a couple Kickstarters.
Yeah.
He does pure Instagram and Royal Road, which is way different than everybody else. Yeah. Grew his audience on Instagram. Yeah. So okay, so you're writing a bunch of books. You got your Kickstarter. I hope it goes well.
Yeah, I hope it goes well.
From the publishing side, what are you working on this year?
What am I working on? So we signed a deal. Oh, I don't know. So here's the problem with narrators: is like I would like to pay them a little bit up front, but they're all like, "Oh no, we'll take it when it's ready." I'm just like, "Okay, sure." We signed a deal with Tess signed a deal. We asked Tess to Irondale to narrate The Last Ray of Hope by Euphradia Abrams, not Adams. I don't know, I might mess that up. She's going to slap me for doing this anyway. And then Quill and Still Book 1 just finished, and we're going to launch that in March. The audiobook by Avalon Penrose, and that's her first book narrating. Pastafarian found her, and we're like, okay, let's do it. So like, I'm psyched to see her first work out there. And Quill and Still's been out for a while, and Pastafarian has like a big following. And who else? Got Reborn as a Dragon Volume 2 is coming out this year. I would have to probably dig into my notes to think of anything further than that, but like, it's going to be a silly year.
It's going to be a busy year for you.
It's going to be a busy year. We're probably going to have a release every month, if not every other month.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
I feel like this is going to be the year that everybody just goes for it. So, I know you mentioned the time. Do you have anything you want to shout? Anything you want to add? Any questions for me before we stop?
So I will shout out ASU for finally releasing something, and I haven't even seen it yet because it was supposed to draft at like 8 in the morning when I was driving to work. But like I've been on his ass to fucking release something. Um, and who else is good? What have I been reading lately? I've been reading Practical Guide to Sorcery.
Nice.
That's good. I just got The Baker and the Thief, which I need to read. I need to read more of. The audiobook just released yesterday, so I know when this podcast is going to release. But The Baker and the Thief, so far so good. I don't know, man.
That's it.
I don't know, man. You're doing great work out there.
Thank you. Any questions for me?
Yeah. So, are you going to do another troll poll, whatever it is?
What's troll poll?
Because that was pretty. The one where you went on with So what are those people?
Oh, sound booth?
Troll poll?
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, if they ever start it up again, I'll submit what I'm working on now. But yeah, it was pretty fun.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, it was really nice of them to do that. It's really weird to have Jeff Hayes read your stuff. I'll be honest with you. To like listen to the audiobooks for years and then be like, oh, this is weird. So definitely.
Yeah,
definitely
I mean, like that's the dream right there.
Yeah, so I'll get them. Don't worry. I'll get them.
That would be great if you get sample theater and reading your work.
I'm gonna cut this part out, but I found it so funny that like, between me and you, like, my book is literally about becoming the devil, like just
nice
becoming a demon lord, in like a fun way, whatever. But the guy who went on before me was like, he wrote a book about Catholic aliens. He's like a big religious guy, and then they made the Catholic alien guy read the main character's part of being like, I will crush your skulls, like I will stop, like. And I thought that was... I don't even think they realized what they were doing. I just found that so funny.
Oh, man.
Because I could tell he was like, oh, I don't want to read this.
Oh, man.
Yeah. 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 That's why I was cracking up the most, because like, oh, this guy really doesn't want to read my stuff. Like, this is so funny.
Well, I mean, I guess what I should leave you with is, if you're a new author, what you should really do is just post. Right, my advice is just post your stuff, and you might get some feedback, but like you have to learn to get a tough skin. And if you're thinking about publishing, even if your numbers aren't like that great, just send it in. Just like err on the side of sending, and that's what I always tell people. Like, if you think that you want to do this, send it in. And like sometimes someone has sent us something, we want you to send something else. Like.
You like their style, but you don't like the work.
Or like, yeah, like I'm like, I need you to rework this. Like, err on the side of sending in something. Err on the side of actually putting something out there. Put yourself out there, and then you have to kind of have a little bit of a thick skin. Like that's my thing in 2025. It's like I'm going to put stuff out there. I'm going to do things, and I want you all to do that so that I can shout it out in my works.
There you go. Exactly. Same here, everybody. Make sure you're publishing as much as you can, writing as much as you can, and telling everybody that you're actually doing it. Don't just hold on to it forever.
Yes, please.
Which a lot of people do. But thank you very much, JP. I'm going to stop the recording now. Everybody, thank you for listening, and hopefully we'll catch you next time.